In January 2026, a quiet legal deadline passed in Florida, and it's already reshaping the housing market in ways most buyers haven't noticed yet. For 3 years, condo boards across the state were allowed to delay a massive bill. That grace period is now over, and thousands of buildings are being forced to pay all at once. Some homeowners are opening certified letters with special assessment bills that top $100,000 for homes they already own outright with no mortgage left to pay. It sounds extreme, but it's completely legal, and it's happening across the state right now. This isn't a simple "Florida is crashing" video, because the real story is more complicated than that. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which 6 Florida cities have been hit hardest and what's actually driving each one. Some of these numbers are genuinely improving. Insurance rates, for the first time in years, are actually coming down in most of the state. But 6 specific places are dealing with a completely different kind of problem, one that didn't exist 5 years ago. Here's the sentence that explains almost everything you're about to see. For 2 decades, Florida sold cheap land and endless sunshine without ever fully pricing in what it costs to ensure that promise against the weather, and the where that comes with it. That bill is now coming due, city by city, and the reasons are different everywhere you look. Let's start with the place where it hit first and hardest.
Cape Coral built its entire identity on one simple pitch: Gulf-adjacent canal living at a price Miami buyers could actually afford. No state income tax, room to build your own boat dock, and a lifestyle that felt within reach for the first time. During the pandemic, that pitch worked better than anyone expected. Cape Coral became one of the fastest growing housing markets in the entire country, with cash offers and bidding wars becoming the norm almost overnight. Then, in September 2022, Hurricane Ian made landfall almost directly on top of the city. Category 4 winds and a massive storm surge tore through neighborhoods that had been selling out just months before. Today, Zillow shows the typical Cape Coral home down about 4.7% over the past year, sitting near $398,000. Redfin's numbers tell a similar story, with the median sale price closer to $360,000. Homes here are now taking nearly 60 days to sell, almost double the pace from just a couple of years ago. That slower pace is a real signal that buyer urgency has genuinely faded. But this isn't a collapse, it's a correction. Pandemic-era prices in Cape Coral were never going to be sustainable long-term, and the market is simply settling back down to where the fundamentals actually support it. The bigger issue for buyers here isn't even the sale price anymore. It's what it costs to insure the home every single year after closing, and that number has changed the entire equation. Florida's average homeowner's insurance premium is now the highest of any state in the country. Some 2026 industry reports put the statewide average somewhere between $3,800 and $8,400 a year, depending on coverage level. Compare that to the national average, which sits under $2,900 a year. That gap alone explains why so many buyers are walking away from deals that would have closed instantly just a few years ago. There's another layer most buyers never see until it's in the paperwork. Independent flood risk modeling puts 87% of Cape Coral properties at some level of flood risk over the next 30 years. That's not fear-mongering. It's the same data insurers are already using to calculate your premium. Whether a buyer sees it or not, that risk is baked into every quote they receive. So when you put the price correction and the insurance reality together, you get the real story here. Cape Coral isn't dying, but the math of owning here has fundamentally changed. 15 minutes away, Port Charlotte and Lehigh Acres tell the same story with an even sharper edge. Both towns sat directly in Hurricane Ian's path, and both were once the affordable alternative when Naples or Fort Myers got too expensive. After 2022, several major insurance carriers simply stopped writing new policies in these exact zip codes. That pushed thousands of homeowners toward Citizens, Florida's state-backed insurer of last resort. Here's the part that complicates the doom narrative. Citizens just cut its rates by an average of 8.7% at the end of 2025, the first cut of its kind in over a decade. Several major private insurers followed with similar decreases, between 7 and 10%, heading into 2026. For homeowners who managed to keep coverage, that's genuinely good news. But Citizens' policy count still dropped from 1.4 million in 2023 to under 400,000 by early 2026. Most of those owners had to find private coverage instead, and it still isn't cheap. Some fully loaded premiums on older coastal homes now top $10,000 a year, especially for owners with a prior claim on file. That split the buyer pool into 2 very different groups. This next part is arguably the biggest structural shift happening in Florida real estate right now, and most people outside the state have never even heard of it. In 2021, the Champlain Towers South condo in Surfside collapsed, killing 98 people. The investigation found years of deferred maintenance and reserve funds that had been deliberately kept low to keep monthly dues cheap. In response, Florida passed a law requiring every condo building 3 stories or taller to complete a structural inspection and fully fund its repair reserves, with no more votes to skip it. The deadline for that reserve study was December 31, 2025. The grace period on actually paying for what those studies found ended just days later, on January 1, 2026. That's why, right now, across Miami Beach, Sarasota, and dozens of other coastal condo markets, owners are opening certified letters with special assessment bills they never budgeted for. Those bills range anywhere from a few $100s to well over $100,000 per unit, depending entirely on the building's age and how badly its reserves had been neglected. It's important to understand this isn't about one poorly run building. It's the entire state finally settling a bill it collectively postponed for 2 full decades, and that bill has come due all at once. There is some relief for the hardest-hit owners. Miami-Dade County is reopening a condominium special assessment program in 2026, offering loans up to $50,000 with 40-year repayment terms for qualifying residents. The effect on prices is genuinely uneven. Well-maintained newer buildings with healthy reserves aren't seeing much pressure at all in this market. It's specifically the older under-reserved buildings, often the ones that looked like a bargain 2 years ago, where buyers are walking away once they see the real numbers at closing. Lenders are getting pickier too. A building deemed ineligible for standard financing because of an unresolved reserve report can lose most of its buyer pool overnight. If you're shopping for a Florida condo in 2026, the reserve study and the milestone inspection report matter more than the view ever will. Naples is the outlier that actually proves the whole point. It's the highest income real estate market in Florida, with the deepest cash buyer pool in the entire state. And even here, Redfin's data shows homes selling for about 10% less than the same period last year, with the typical sale now taking 83 days instead of Naples' usual fast pace. I have to be honest with you here, because other data sources actually show Naples prices flat to rising in this same window. The luxury sales pool is thin enough that a handful of closings can swing the average either direction. What every local report agrees on, regardless of which number you trust, is that days on market are up, and price cuts are more common than they've been in years. Rising HOA fees are part of the story too, with monthly costs now exceeding $550 in many Naples communities. Even buyers who could pay cash without blinking are choosing to wait and negotiate. When the wealthiest buyer pool in the entire state starts waiting instead of racing to close, that tells you the shift isn't about affordability. It's about confidence. This last story needs 0 hurricanes to explain. South of Orlando, in Kissimmee, Davenport, and Osceola County, builders spent years constructing thousands of homes aimed at one very specific buyer. Investors who wanted to run short-term rentals near Disney and Universal, and for a while, that math worked extremely well for everyone involved. It doesn't work as cleanly anymore. As of 2026, industry surveys show 67% of builders nationally are offering sales incentives, and 41% are cutting prices outright just to move inventory. Central Florida specifically is seeing rate buydowns of 1 to 2 points and closing cost credits between $10,000 and $20,000, treated as standard rather than rare. Here's what that does to an existing homeowner trying to sell a 5-year-old resale house. They're not competing with their neighbor's listing anymore. They're competing with a brand new house next door backed by a builder's balance sheet. This corridor now has some of the longest average days on market and the most frequent price cuts anywhere in Greater Orlando, even while more established neighborhoods stay comparatively tight and competitive. Here's what actually connects every one of these places, and it's more nuanced than known Florida is crashing. 4 completely different problems are unfolding in one state at the same time. The insurance crisis is real, and in most of the state it's actually easing, not worsening, thanks to legislative reform. The condo reserve crisis, meanwhile, is just getting started. Central Florida's oversupply has nothing to do with weather or insurance at all. It's simply builders who kept building for an investor buyer who's grown far more cautious than they were 3 years ago. If you're buying in Florida right now, the smart move isn't avoiding the state entirely. It's doing the homework nobody wants to do before you fall in love with a listing. Pull the insurance quote, pull the condo reserve study, check the flood history. The buyers winning in this market are the ones asking those questions before they make an offer, not after. Florida didn't stop being Florida. It just started sending the real bill for 20 years of pretending the weather and the maintenance weren't part of the price. If your city's on this list, tell me in the comments and subscribe if this helped.